Hi, I'm Patti Palmer.
And I'm Katrina Walker.
And Katrina and I decided that one of the things that is most difficult for people is to put the right pattern and the right fabric with their patterns. And so what we want to do is really help you to do that well. Pair your fabric to a pattern that will really work and you'll love it when it's done.
And that really helps you to make the most of your sewing time and money by making things that you will love for years to come.
And for example, I asked Katrina to bring her favorite outfit that she's ever made and that she loves to wear.
I do love this jacket. This is my National Make It With Wool award-winning jacket, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And it was made all out of wool sample fabrics, which also endears it to me because to me it not only was a creative exercise, but also I love to wear the wools and I love to work the wools, and there's something very zen about tailoring.
Great. And I am very proud of you for being the adult winner for the National Make It With Wool, by the way. That is great. My favorite fabric, and this is my favorite outfit, is wool crepe. And unfortunately, because the ready-to-wear designers aren't using wool crepe as much right now, it's a little bit harder to find. But when I find it, I just buy it because it just, oh, I can't even say it. If I make a pair of pants, they just fit me. You know, it just molds the body and it just sews so easily. There are other fabrics that don't sew quite so easily. For example, we want you to make sure that you know when you pick a little more difficult fabric, like this fairly tightly woven wool flannel. You might get puckers where the lapel comes together. It might be hard to set in the sleeve without getting puckers because it is a fabric that doesn't ease very well. So unless your skills are very, very good, this would be a difficult fabric for you.
And similarly, we want to help encourage you to know what is truly the right fabric for the pattern. This is a beautiful silk shantung. It's beautiful color, beautiful fabric, but absolutely the wrong pattern. Unless you want to look like a circus tent, don't choose a structured fabric for a drapey design.
So let's get started.
When it comes to pairing the right fabric with the right pattern, it's kind of a chicken and the egg proposition. Now, Patti, she likes to start with the fabric first. And this is because Patti has amassed an amazing stash, which, while I envy it, I haven't quite managed to emulate it yet, but I'm sure time will assist me in that. So I rely more on starting with the pattern. Now, using the pattern envelope can be sometimes a little bit of a mystery in and of itself, but if you look at it carefully, you can find some clues in here to help you solve that mystery of will this fabric work with that pattern. So, of course, first I start with the front. I like to look at the pictures on the models, even if I don't quite look like the models on the picture. It at least gives me some important clues as to how the garment is expected to fit. Presumably they're fitting the model the way that the designer intends them to fit on a body. And so I can glean from that the degree of fittedness. You know, is it a close-fitting garment? Is it meant to hang close to the body, away from the body? You get some important design details, but I really rely on the information on the back of the pattern for this, because this is really where the meat of the information on your pattern back is located. Starting at the top, I always start at the top, and the reason is because this little descriptive paragraph actually does tell me a lot of information on how I'm going to interpret this into my own design. First of all, it'll often tell me the degree of fit. Again, I looked at the pictures on the front, the models, but I know the photographs can be sometimes hard to read. So I'm going to look at, and it tells me some of the details. It tells me it has a back yoke, something I couldn't notice from the front because there's no pictures of the back. It tells me the difference in sleeves, what the difference is between the different styles on the pattern. Moving down to suggested fabrics, very, very important, because even if I don't use precisely the fabrics listed, I can discern from the fabrics they do list what kind of qualities they're looking for in the textiles. For example, this particular pattern lists cottons, chino, gabardine, denim, synthetic leathers as among the fabrics that they recommend for this pattern. Now what this is telling me is that if you can use a synthetic leather or leather for this, there probably isn't much ease, because while leather can be stretched, it doesn't really ease. It also tells me that if they're using crisper fabrics like gabardine or chino, that they're looking for some fabric with a little bit of structure to it. So I'm not going to want something real limp and drapey to get this particular look. So you can really tell a lot by what they do have listed. Of course, yardage is important. And then coming down to the line art, they always have pictures on the pattern envelope, but where you really get better information for that is moving to the inside of the pattern. Inside the pattern, in the directions, also very important. And it's important to take these out sometimes and look at them in the store before you even buy the pattern. For one thing, you get a much better line art drawing. The details are much easier to see. It's so hard to tell sometimes in a pattern when you look at it on the photograph because you can't see necessarily. For instance, it mentioned it had a back yoke, but did you know that the back yoke is actually triangular? That may be an important style detail that you may or may not like. It also has a seam on the collar, the lapel/collar. It has an elbow dart. These are all important design elements that you may choose that you do or do not want. This gives you a chance to really check it out, what that garment really means. You know, I read a pattern like a novel. I'm a very visual learner, so until I feel like I have a good grip on the process visually, I like to read through it and just kind of get a feel for how the garment's going to go together. Secondly, we have drawings of layouts. And this is a great clue in terms of how to go ahead and lay this out, because I know I'm one of those people that wants to get the absolute most fabric savings as I can. I want to make sure that I don't use any more than I have to. Now, being tall, I do have some elements to take into consideration. I have to consider that chances are I'm going to have extra length. So I'll have to modify my layout slightly to accommodate that. I'd like to show you a few more examples of information you can find from reading your pattern envelope. Now, on an envelope for knits, one of the things the pattern will always show you is the degree of stretch that's required for a particular knit for that pattern. And it shows you basically a 4-inch section and how far it must stretch in order to be compatible. But on this particular pattern, there's another design element that you may not be aware of unless you read the pattern. And that is in the description on top, it mentions that there is an optional back zipper. It's not required. Now, if you look at the notions, it doesn't tell you that it's optional, but in this particular instance, it is optional. And with knits, oftentimes, if you can pull it over your head, you don't need a back fastener.